Hello and welcome. And this is a very special episode because we are going to talk about some of the best knocks Indian batters have played in the Border Gavaskar Trophy in this century. And I'll start off, Zach, by saying one of my earliest memory was of Sourav Ganguly scoring 144. I know you played that test, but I want to give a little context to our viewers. Why it is so special is, in the previous tours, we were whitewashed. So going into that series, it was a big one. He was the captain and he was searching for form a little bit. I know the conversation that came up in the newspaper was how he had it with Greg Chappell and how he had helped him. And there he went, as a captain, 144, being in that dressing room. What did that knock mean to you all?
Well, you mentioned as a captain, it's so important, isn't it? If you start the series on the right foot, then it just makes things easier. Otherwise, the Australian media is going to come after you. The players are going to sledge, all those kind of things. They know how to build it out there. The conditions are not that easy. So for a captain to go out there and saying that I'm here to fight and I'm going to carry this team forward makes a big statement. And I think that's what that century achieved for Dada in that series. Obviously, then later on, going on to the Adelaide test, you have Rahul and Lakshman's innings. And when you talk about Australia, you cannot not talk about Lakshman, isn't it? And I just, if I have to remember one game where a batter has shown sheer dominance, it was Lakshman's knock in Sydney. It was just like he went into bat, there were 7 fielders on the offside and he kept hitting boundaries from there. It just shows the confidence of a guy against a particular opposition and just something with SCG and Sydney. SCG and Lakshman, isn't it? It's just phenomenal to see a batsman having that kind of confidence on a certain pitch. Just like, it's like he feels at home when he walks into bat there. So I think, that was a very, very special memory I have.
But the Masters knock has to be spoken about. 241 in Sydney, and it's plainly spoken about in every coaching academy for discipline. How do you bat in a disciplined way? Remember Sachin's knock. What was that when you were watching that?
No cover drive. That was that. And, you're talking about all the batters contributing, and that series, that's why I'm saying, it was such an important series because everyone have made their contribution. We've spoken about Dada, we've spoken about Rahul, we've spoken about Lakshman, and Sachin's 241. We've scored 700 in that first innings, 700 runs at SCG. It was Sachin's knock. Patience, determination, and self-discipline and control was the hallmark of that knock. He was just not willing to give his wicket away. Of watching that innings where a batter is just going on with the flow right from the word go.
It's interesting because if you speak about VVS Lakshman and Australia, Sydney will always come to your mind. Similarly, if you speak about Virat Kohli, Adelaide will come to the mind. But for me, Virat Kohli's top knock in Australia was the 123 he got in Perth, purely because of the conditions. Australia in the lead up to the test had said, we are going to play with fire and going to give a green top which is going to bounce like crazy. I remember Virat Kohli being the captain came out and said, that's the conditions that we want to play in. And he went out there and probably got one of the best hundreds ever by an Indian in Australia. That was one of my favorite knocks, just for the attitude he possessed and the way he went about in that test match. And that was quite phenomenal to watch, Zach. Another innings that comes to my mind might not be 100, Zach, but this young boy on his first series actually made it look to the world that he was special. He's arrived, and that is Rishabh Pant. He got a brilliant knock in Sydney, but the better knock for me was the Gabba test. He got 89, Zach, Rishabh Pant, and I think that was a knock that is well worth speaking about just for the magnitude, the fact that we were chasing history and he made it happen.
It's special because someone had to believe, isn't it? And that's what I liked about that knock because obviously it was a young side, but that sheer determination to win a match is something which was very evident there, that want to win and no matter what, having that aggression, having that positive outlook is something which stands out, and that's why that series was such a special series with senior players missing and the youngsters actually taking that responsibility and putting up a great show in tough conditions.
If we speak about Australia, the first thing that will come to your mind is, in this century, the first test that India won against Australia, thanks largely to one man. Zach was part of the team, but we're speaking about the wall here. He got 233 and 70 in the second innings. those two knocks have to be right up there, Zach, in terms of mental fortitude, fighting the conditions, but most importantly, again, chasing history in a way and achieving it.
Look, you talk about Rahul Dravid, you talk about Lakshman, you talk about Saurav, you talk about Sachin, and that's why that series 2003-4, to me that series was the most important series when you're looking at having that belief or creating that whole atmosphere around the team and for the generation to come, to be able to say that, okay, Australian conditions has been tough, but now we are ready. I think that series was from the batting point of view, all these guys stepping up to show and create that belief in all the Indian batting setup, to say that doesn't matter what conditions are, we are ready, we're going to fight and we're going to contribute.
Being a batter, I know how tough it is to get runs in Australia. We have just picked the 5, or in fact 6 maybe, but I just want to have one notable mention, one that got me up early in the morning and I switched on the TV and I couldn't switch it off till that man was on, and that was Virender Sehwag and his knock of 195 in Melbourne. One of the best knocks you will ever see in terms of an opener smashing a proper Aussie team. And hence, we have a short show, so we'll come to the end of this. Some of the best knocks by Indian matters, and this was given by me and Zach. Thank you so much, and hopefully Team India goes on to doing something very special yet again on the Australian shows in this Border Gavaskar Trophy.